Hello and welcome to this session brought to you by the Academy of Practical Accounts in conjunction with your institution. In this session, we're looking at the chart of accounts. The objective is to look at the structure of the chart of accounts plus the editing of accounts in the chart of accounts. Now, the chart of accounts is the layout or arrangement of accounts in the general ledger. In our perspective, our accounts are arranged starting with the incomes, expenses, then we have assets, liabilities, and equity accounts. Those are the 5 classifications as we're going to see very soon. Now we have a total of 300 accounts in the software. Now 298 are part of the double entry system. Actually, they are part of the double entry system, or what we may call the general ledger. And then the 2 are outside the double entry system. They are basically VAT accounts. Now, where should we start from? Let's first have a quick look at this on Excel before we go into the app itself. Before we do that, let's look at the different classifications of these accounts. Now, we've said there are 298 accounts in 30 groups. Now, to the business owner, this means, well, I don't know if it's very relevant. But the first group is turnover accounts made up of 10 accounts. Second group is other income. Next is cost of sales. Next is subcontractors, employee costs, motor and travel, premises costs, maintenance costs, administrative, promotion, interest, finance charges, bad debts, professional costs, depreciation and disposal, other expenses, fixed assets, other fixed assets, stock, trade debtors, bank accounts. And then 21 is cash accounts, other current assets, trade creditors, loans and hire purchase, other liabilities, capital brought forward, capital added, tax on profit, and then drawings. Now let's have a look at these on an Excel worksheet. Let's see from number 1, and we'll look at the classification or the arrangement. We need to widen this, and I think move to the right. This is good. Okay, so oh no, it's not, because we can't see the accounts themselves. So we should scroll to the left. We still need to make it wider. That is better. Now we need to mention that the chart of accounts is guided by the tax return. Now this tax return in the UK for the sole trader or the self-employed is known as SA 103. Now there is the short one and there is the full one. Now this is based on the full one, SA 103 F, which is full. Now where is the F? Okay, we'll remove that space in there. Okay, that is the SA 103 full. Now we're going to look at the short tax return in the next few sessions. So we've got accounts 1 up to 10, which belongs to turnover group. Oh God. And then we've got what we call accounting schedules. Now accounting schedules are detailed reports which support figures that appear on the financial statements in form of notes. Okay, on the summarized profit and loss account, we've got a turnover figure, and that turnover figure is supported by note 1, which lists the balances that add up to that turnover figure on the profit and loss account. We shall look at that a little bit later. So we've got group, and so note 2 has got accounts 11 up to 20, which is classified as other income. Now this is the box on the tax return. So the sum of balances on these accounts will be found on the profit and loss account and will be found on as note 2 on the notes to financial statements, and that note 2 will be supported by detailed individual accounts found on Schedule F2. And then, of course, we've got box 15, where we record the figure. So remember, the accounts should be directly related to the tax return, because ultimately we need to report to tax authorities. Although if you want it for non-tax purposes, well, these are supporting reports that provide details in case they are required. So we're looking at note 2, accounts 11 up to 20, and that's other income. And then we'll look at cost of sales, accounts 21 up to 44. Construction and subcontractor accounts, accounts 45 up to 49. We look at wages, salaries, and staff costs, accounts 50 up to 62. We look at cars, van, and travel expenses, accounts 63 up to 79. Now remember, the accounts with dots can be customized, can be given names in case you have a classification of an expense that we don't have. Then you customize or edit account 68 or any of those with dots. Alternatively, you can even change the name of that one. We shall have a look at that soon. Now, next we look at rent, rates, power, and insurance accounts, which stretch from number 80 to 95, and that is note 7 on the profit and loss in the notes to financial statements. Then we'll look at maintenance cost accounts, which stretch from 96 to 105. Next, we have administrative expenses from 106 up to 120. Next are promotion expenses from 121 to 139. Interest charges 130 to 139. 130 to 139. Finance charges 140 to 151. Bad debts 152 to 155. Professional expenses 156 to 164. Depreciation and disposal 165 to 174. Other expenses 175 180. Fixed assets 181 to 189. Other fixed assets 189 to 200. Stock 201 203. Trade debtors is 204. And then these bank accounts from 205 to 211. Cash accounts, we've got 212 and 213. Other current assets 214 to 223. Then trade creditors control account is account 224. Loans and hire purchase accounts, we've got 225 to 230. Then other current liabilities, we've got 231 to 269. Capital brought forward is 270. Capital added is 271 to 279. Tax and profit is 280 to 284. And finally, drawings accounts 286 to 298. Now remember, we said we have got two accounts which are outside double entry. And these are for VAT reporting purposes. If the business is registered for VAT, then they are relevant. So that is the chart of accounts. Now let's see how to access that chart of accounts on our device. Now we've got, this is the side menu. Now we click here and we click on chart of accounts structure. Now that structure is available on your device only with internet access. You don't need it all the time. And we decided that let it not load your phone. So you only download it when you need to. So I have to connect the internet right now before I can access the chart of accounts structure. So click OK. We go back and then click the side menu, chart of accounts structure again. So you can see the emails are now coming in. All right, so we now have access to the chart of accounts structure, and I have to turn off the internet very soon. Now we've got several pages basically showing the chart of accounts structure, and it's a guide in case you need to add or modify accounts in the chart of accounts. Now this one is not editable. We've got a live version in the software that is editable. So you keep continuing, and just in case they don't appear very clear on your device, then you click download and it downloads onto your device, and then you can open it using any of these. So I can now turn off my internet to avoid interruptions. Okay, so we can close the chart of accounts structure. We have finished with the chart of accounts structure. Now the next thing to look at is the chart of accounts which is editable. The chart of accounts which is editable. Where is that one? That is the one that we can modify. Now we've looked at these groups and we go straight to the editable chart of accounts. We get to our device here. Now this one is found in the miscellaneous module, and you click this button here to access the chart of accounts editable. Now the accounts are arranged from number 1 up to 298. Up to 298. Most of the accounts are named. I just click the wrong button. Most of the accounts are named, but we've got slightly above 100 accounts that do not have names, dotted as was indicated earlier, for you to edit and modify. So we have got to the end, and the last one is account 298. It's not named. Now to name an account, you simply click on that, click on the 3 dots, click the backspace and give it a name. This should be a drawings account. Now, for example, we may want to classify the drawings and say this is for personal clothes. So we can say this is what the business owner used to buy personal clothes. Click update and the account should appear there. So let's scroll down. Wait. Now these accounts do appear here. They shouldn't appear here. It's 299. It's 299. They should not appear here. We need to modify that. Okay. All right. So the one we have edited is 298. Account 298. Okay. So that is how you modify an account. Now you can find any account that is already named. For example, let's go to, okay, let's first go back here to speed it up. To speed it up, we come back to our chart of accounts modify. And I need to remind you that each and every facility in the software has got a guide. For example, this one has got some kind of guide. You don't have to look back at the textbook. You don't need to go to the internet. Just within the software, there is support. Now, for example, we need to modify account 205. 205. Let's check 205. 205 is bank 1. All right. Now, we may want to name this after a particular bank account, a particular bank. For example, we could say this is a Barclays bank account. That is Barclays Bank. Okay, so we click update. Now on all the forms that appear from now onwards, where account 205 should appear, are going to show the Barclays Bank for account 205. Now we click this drop down, we're going to find, yes, account 205 is there. Okay, that is the Barclays Bank. So that is how we modify and customize accounts. So that brings us to the end of this chart of accounts. Maybe before we leave, we need to look briefly, probably at the creditors, editing the creditors accounts as well. Now it's very similar to the chart of accounts, whereby the names are listed and you simply click this to modify and edit the name. The same applies to debtors. Now the accounts for debtors, let's see. The accounts for debtors, let's have a quick look. They stretch, let's see, these are creditors. They stretch from 401 up to 500, and accounts for debtors stretch from 501 up to 600. Well, we come to the end of this session where we looked at the chart of accounts. Remember, the chart of accounts is for those accounts in the general ledger. We've got about 300 accounts in there, 298 for in the double entry system, and then 2 for VAT reporting purposes. In case of any questions, please send us an email or find us on Skype, and then we shall be communicating our WhatsApp contacts. Thank you.